By their fruits you will know them. A spiritual wake-up call, the spiritual scalpel of discernment. This statement is not a gentle suggestion or a poetic metaphor. It is a spiritual instrument of precision. Christ offered it as a way to cut through the layers of illusion that accumulate around belief, tradition, and inherited systems. It bypasses intellectual debate and refuses to be softened by interpretation. Instead, it directs us to examine the tangible outcomes, the lived results produced by the structures we trust, the prayers we repeat, and the doctrines we defend. It challenges us to look not at what a system claims to be, but at what it actually creates in the human heart and in the world around us. When Christ spoke these words, he was giving humanity a tool of discernment that transcends culture, era, and religious identity. He was teaching us how to distinguish truth from imitation, essence from appearance, and the genuine source from the substitutes that often stand in its place. This teaching invites us to step beyond inherited assumptions and to evaluate spiritual systems by the quality of their fruit, the peace they produce, the unity they cultivate, the freedom they awaken, and the transformation they inspire. Anything that does not bear this fruit reveals itself not by argument, but by its own outcomes. 2. The visible reality. The fruit never lies. Expanded. For thousands of years, humanity has prayed the same prayers, recited the same psalms, and pleaded for the same protection, victory, and peace. These prayers have echoed across continents, cultures, and generations. Yet the historical record of those same thousands of years is a repeating cycle of conflict, fear, division, and us versus them thinking. The fruit does not match the promise. The outcomes do not reflect the peace, unity, or transformation that a direct connection to the infinite Creator would naturally produce. This is not a matter of blaming individuals or questioning sincerity. Humanity has always prayed with genuine longing, deep devotion, and honest hope. But sincerity alone does not guarantee connection. If the fruit remains unchanged for millennia, the question is not whether people are earnest. The question is whether the spiritual circuitry itself is aligned with the source. The fruit reveals the truth. The fruit exposes the gap between intention and outcome. The fruit shows us where the connection is incomplete. If we are reaching the infinite, where is the infinite fruit? If the prayers of humanity were truly reaching the infinite Creator, the boundless source of the soul, then the fruit would reflect that connection. We would see a gradual unfolding of unity, compassion, inner freedom, and collective peace. We would see the dissolving of fear, not its repetition. We would see the healing of division, not its reinforcement. The fact that the same cycles persist suggests that something in the spiritual circuitry is misaligned. This realization is not meant to diminish anyone's faith. It is meant to awaken a deeper inquiry. If the infinite is truly infinite, limitless, unconditional, and ever-present, then why does the fruit of our collective spirituality still resemble the consciousness of ancient conflict? Why does fear still dominate the landscape of the human heart? Why does division still shape the world? These questions are not signs of doubt. They are signs of awakening. They mark the moment when the soul begins to seek the source directly rather than through inherited pathways. The old phone, a system that cannot dial the source. Perhaps the issue is not the heart of the seeker, but the structure of the system. Humanity may be trying to reach the infinite with an old spiritual phone, one that was never designed to dial the source directly. Many ancient prayers were shaped in a world defined by kingdoms, battles, territorial power, and external authority. They were written as appeals for intervention from forces perceived as rulers, protectors, or commanders. These prayers reflect the consciousness of their time, a world where the divine was imagined as an external authority who must be petitioned, appeased, or persuaded. But a system built on external dependence cannot reveal the God who dwells within. When the spiritual framework is rooted in hierarchy, fear, and external control, it naturally produces fruit that mirrors those qualities. It cannot produce the fruit of inner freedom because it does not point inward. It cannot produce the fruit of unity because it is built on separation. It cannot produce the fruit of peace because it is shaped by conflict. The old phone keeps ringing, but it is not dialing the infinite, the reveal. External appeals create external dependency. When prayers are directed outward, toward a distant power, a throne above the sky, or an authority outside the self, the seeker becomes dependent on something external. And what you depend on, you empower. What you empower, you become bound to. Externalized spirituality often produces a cycle of fear, petition, temporary relief, and renewed fear. It does not produce lasting transformation. It does not produce the fruit Christ described. It keeps the seeker returning to the same place, asking for the same intervention, without ever discovering the source within. This is not a failure of faith. It is a limitation of the framework. External systems can offer comfort, but they cannot offer awakening. They can offer ritual, but they cannot offer direct connection. They can offer tradition, but they cannot offer transformation. The fruit reveals the truth. External appeals create external dependency, and dependency is not the path to spiritual freedom. Their fruits, you will know them. But a system built on external dependence cannot reveal the God who dwells within. When the spiritual framework is rooted in hierarchy, fear, and external control, it naturally produces fruit that mirrors those qualities. It cannot produce the fruit of inner freedom because it does not point inward. It cannot produce the fruit of unity because it is built on separation. It cannot produce the fruit of peace because it is shaped by conflict. The old phone keeps ringing, but it is not dialing the infinite. When Christ spoke these words, he was giving humanity a tool of discernment that transcends culture, era, and religious identity. He was teaching us how to distinguish truth from imitation, essence from appearance, and the genuine source from the substitutes that often stand in its place. This teaching invites us to step beyond inherited assumptions and to evaluate spiritual systems by the quality of their fruit, the peace they produce, the unity they cultivate, the freedom they awaken, and the transformation they inspire. Anything that does not bear this fruit reveals itself, not by argument, but by its own outcomes. When you turn inward, the fruit changes. Fear dissolves. Division loses its power. The old cycles break. You begin to experience the peace that external systems could only promise, but never produce. This is the awakening Christ spoke of. This is the return to the true connection. This is the moment when the soul finally dials the infinite, and the infinite answers from within. If the fruit of the old path has not brought you peace, let that be your sign. If the prayers you were taught no longer reach the depths of your soul, trust that inner knowing. If you feel the pull towards something more direct, more intimate, more alive, follow it. Turn your awareness inward. The source you have been seeking is not distant, hidden, or conditional. It is the quiet presence within you, waiting to be recognized. Let this be the moment you stop dialing outward and begin listening inward. Let this be the moment you return to the true connection, the one Christ pointed to, the one no system can mediate, the one no tradition can contain. The kingdom is within you. The divine is within you. The path begins within you. Walk toward it. Get out of the trap.